Hi guys, it's Jonathan Wright from Digital Assured. I'm just going to post on to LinkedIn so people can join the live stream. Hi guys, it's Jonathan Wright from Digital Assured. I'm just going to post on to LinkedIn so people can join the live stream. Okay. Hi guys, it's Jonathan Wright from Digital Assured. I'm just going to post on to LinkedIn so people can join the live stream. Okay. Hi guys, it's Jonathan Wright from Digital Assured. I'm just going to post on to Okay, so I'm going to start at 1 o'clock, and then we can go from there. If anyone does have any questions, there's a live chat stream, so you can just ask the question directly into the chat stream. So I'll add something in there. Hello world. Um, and then we can go from there. Okay, so I think it's probably worth giving you a bit of a pretense on, why I've been asked to do this stream. So the question was asked last week if I'd be happy to follow up last week's presentation at TestCon with a bit of information around cognitive engineering and also how that is going to shape the future of automation. Now, for those that attended my session last week, I kind of gave a bit of a glimpse into what you could possibly do and how things have changed since I started doing test automation back in the 90s. So I talked a little bit about some of the use cases that I've done recently, so for government and for retail. And I kind of wanted to kind of take that a step further by going onto the blog and really share what I'm doing right now. And when I say right now, is literally in the background. I'm monitoring a retailer's performance. This close to Black Friday, performance engineering is absolutely essential. Um, and when they're going to have 5-10 times the throughput which you're expecting, part of it is you've got to understand how to create more realistic models. I remember when I was living in New Zealand and I was working for the Lotteries Commission, and partly when we talked about large scale volumes, it was the highest jackpot. And at the time, someone said to me, how can we model that? How can we create, if we're expecting 5 times the amount of people. How can we model that for people buying and checking their tickets? Because I guess there's two separate behaviors there. There's the buying, which would be pre the actual live jackpot, and then the post activities of checking. And both of those would look completely different. Now, the temptation, I guess, with traditional performance is to just focus on, it in isolation or compartments, or look at ramping up for the logging in and checking side of things. But I don't think it's that simple. And back then, this was 10-15 years ago. It was built on Flex data services. So in actual fact, this was the perfect opportunity for what I'm calling shift right now, and I have been talking about for maybe the last 10 years, is capturing that activity at the I call it the application end for a time. So it used to be called Performance Application Lifecycle, PAL. But what you would do is you turn on logging at that end, and if anyone's used Flex Data Services, they'll realize that it's just XML. So every single request that came into the system, every response that was sent back out, was in a readable format. So I knew what the person was, what their ticket history was, what ticket they were buying, which was obviously a unique number. So there was endless possibilities to check for the ticket. I also knew how long they were on the screen, how long they were there deciding what product they wanted to buy. And then, I also had useful information like when it came to checking their ticket, how many tickets they were checking, what the numbers were, how many had won at certain levels, etc., etc. So by taking that huge amount of data, I was able to reverse it and create a model. Now, this was a model of real user journeys, and not only real user journeys, but it was real user journeys, the timings that they sent, as combined with the actual activity they went through and the journey where they went through the application. So what I did is I looked at taking that as a delta. So I had say that there was 20,000 people accessing on the big jackpot, and I said, okay, we want to prove it at 2 times. So now I'm going to have to synthetically generate, based on that delta, what I've got, twice as many activities, but I need to make it realistic. It's not just a simple load profile that goes up quite linearly. It's actually around creating a realistic profile. So, increasing the frequency of people coming in, but modeling that behavior of, load coming into the system, and buying tickets. And then at that moment of time with the jackpot, so many people coming through and actually, buying tickets. So, part of that was, okay, so we've got those great profiles, and I can obviously generate realistic scenarios using my tool. At that point in time, I was using LoadRunner, which was kind of the de facto tool at the time. And that allowed me enough flexibility to be able to generate realistic load. And so part of this example was kind of trying to say to people, we can kind of model the user behavior with realistic data sets taken from production. So why can't we apply this to everything else? And I think it's worthwhile trying to keep things current. So I'll give my example of what I'm doing here for Black Friday. So every year we do a report called the World Digital Report, which we benchmark 100,000 retailers, and that's across 3 geolocations. So that's the EMEA, so that includes places like the UK, where I am based at the moment, and places like France and Spain and everything else, and their biggest retail outlets, including things like Amazon, for instance. And then we do it in Americas. I've got a friend over there, a guy called Todd DiCaprio, who is the publisher of Effective Performance Engineering book on O'Reilly, and is a very close, dear friend. And he looks after the Americas region. And then I have a friend, Stuart Moncrief, who runs the website myloadtest.com, who also is, again, a performance engineer, and he's able to deal with the Australasia area, so the APAC region, so places like Singapore, China, but also Australia. So he's based in Australia, so it's a great base for him to be able to run and execute these tiny tests. So we do it every year, and we kind of publish the results of, the top 100 best performing websites and the bottom 100 poorest performing websites. And you'd kind of say to yourself, well, that's pretty easy in the sense of, all you're doing is you're hitting, a website with a browser proxy, you're generating some traffic, you're, monitoring it, and that's kind of where synthetic monitoring kind of came in. So you're using something like AppDynamics, Dynatrace, New Relic, that's their bread and butter stuff. But that's not performance engineering. You need to be able to understand and do a lot more, including things like security testing, which is one of the things that we do, and as well as user experience. And there's nothing more important than user experience at this point in time, and especially for the retailer that I'm looking at the moment, than their mobile experience. So part of that is, how do you create a fantastic mobile experience? Because at the end of the day, it's not just Selenium. It's not just a website, and I think this is what a lot of people forget when it comes to actually performance engineering. The real crux of enterprise performance engineering are organizations that probably don't see the light of day of a browser-based or platform. They actually are more based on things like COBOL or mainframe, or enterprise apps that are written in Java, or Oracle, or Salesforce. There's lots of different enterprise platforms